Yeah, and what I wanted us to do today is pick up from where we left in the previous lesson. In the previous lesson, we built this app that you can see here, and how it was working is that we designed this user interface, and actually the phone. This is the app running itself, where you can input something maybe like your name. You can input your email, .com, and then you input your password, something like 123456. You confirm the password 123456, and after doing that, what our application was doing, when you click on sign up, this text that is down here, the text that is down here was changing to something like sign up button has been clicked. And yeah, it's because the app is already running, and it just picked from where we were last time. So when we click on the login page, this was moving us from the sign up activity to the main activity. If I click on go to login page, our app was moving from the sign up activity to the login activity. And that was it about the app. But now what I wanted us to do is to actually do the actual login and the actual sign up. And by doing this, we can use different services. And one of the services to use is you can use a local database, uh, a database that is you can have locally on your phone. But that is not the case you tend to find mostly being used. What people normally do is to use a cloud solution. And by using a cloud solution, this means that your app can be accessible or available to any person in this world, and they can actually be able to create an account, and you can actually see maybe from your dashboard that the users have created your app, or they have done these, created, signed up, logged in. You can see maybe which location they are from, and that is why people normally use different cloud solution. And which are these types of cloud solutions? One that is majorly used in Android or in mobile phones, this is what we call Firebase. We have plenty of different uh, cloud solution to use in our apps. So you'll find things like this is the Google Cloud. We have things like Amazon, we have Oracle, we have Firebase. Firebase is Google's. We also have one for Microsoft. Let's see whether they can just do. I think Google has what is cloud computing. So we have different types of cloud services that we can actually use. And for mobile, most likely in Android, we have something like Firebase. And what is Firebase? It's normally a set of backend cloud computing services and application development platforms that is actually provided by Google. So in our case, we can use Firebase because Firebase is actually supported out of the box in Android Studio. If you wanted to use Firebase in Android Studio, it would be actually very easy to integrate Firebase to our Android application. And to do that, what we are going to do is to actually sign up our users using Firebase. And to do that, we need to sign out. We need to just connect our Android Studio to our Google account. And to do this, ensuring that our Android Studio is connected to what do we call it? Is connected to Google, to our Google account. So if you click on top here, you'll see that there's a profile thing, and if I can sign out, I hope it won't actually log me out of the call, but I can just sign out. I hope I'm still in the call. Yeah. Now, when you click on the top right in Android Studio, you'll see sign in to Google. And here is where you can log in to your Google account. But what we want to do in this case is connect our app to Firebase. And by doing that, we need to have a Firebase account. To create a Firebase account, what you need to do is just go to Google and search Firebase. And after searching Firebase, you can click on the first link, but in this case it will actually sign me up to Firebase sign in, because I've already created my account with Firebase. And for your case, if you don't have a Firebase account, you will see something on at the top right here, something like sign in. So this is my account, and I have used my dummy Google account, so it's Mwenda Enrique, something like that. That is my account. And now this same account that I've created with Firebase, it's the same account that I will log in my Android Studio with. So the email is something like Mwenda Enrique 5. And that is what I should do with Android Studio. So I'll sign in to Google and just say click on login. And after clicking on login, it will tell me to add a Google account, to add an account. And then it will actually go to the web browser, and these are some of the emails that are registered, and I will select the Gmail account that is actually signed in, the one that I've opened Firebase with, and it is this one, Mwenda Enrique, and then select that and then click on continue. So now to do this, when interacting with the cloud, you always need to be online. Something like Firebase, since it's a cloud service, you need to be online because you will be communicating with all the Firebase services, and they have to send requests to the Firebase servers. If it's to check a user, if it's to log in a user, the user also needs to be online. So for your app, when logging in and when signing in users, the users have to be online. And as you can see, my Android Studio, you've signed in to Android Studio, and my Android Studio is signed in. So now when I go back to my Android Studio and click, actually you can see it has signed in my account, and you can actually see even there's something like Firebase, allow view, blah blah blah, use Firebase. And now what we need to do, you can actually go to the Firebase console over here in Android Studio, or you can go to the website. Where is the website itself? You can come here to Firebase, and on the top right you can see something like go to console. It's actually the same page that you would open up in Android Studio and click go to Firebase console. So let me just click on the website so that you can see it's the same thing. So I click go to console, and it will go to my Firebase console. And as you can see, these are the different applications that I have maybe connected to Firebase. So you can actually add a project or if you're working on previous projects, you can select the project that you're working on, maybe if it's to view the users or whatever you would want. Now what I want to do is use, after I've connected my Google account, I click go to Firebase console, and that will open the exact same page, that the browser had opened. And as you can see, it has opened the exact same page. And let me just close all the others so that we can just deal with 2 pages. And after doing that, after adding my Google account, now what I want to do is to add this project to Firebase. So don't get it confused. The first thing was to connect Android Studio here at the top right and connect it to my Google account that has Firebase logged in. Now what I want to do is to add my application, which is called navigation. As you can see up here, our application is called navigation. So what we need to do is to add this navigation project to my Firebase. So we need to have a project here that is named the same as what is here in Android Studio, of which our app is named as navigation. And what I need to do that to connect now my Android Studio project, I just need to come up here, and you can see there's something that is named tools. So you just click on tools, and on your Android IDE you'll see there's something we call Firebase. And to do that, let me just minimize my phone so that you can see everything perfectly. So I go to tools and then click on Firebase. And when I click on Firebase, it will give me all these things. And what you want to do, you can use Firebase for so many things. These are the different features you can use Firebase for. So you can use it for analytics. Analytics are to just measure the activities and engagement of your app. And it's actually a good feature if you want to see how your users are using the app. The other thing is authentication. Authentication now is what we are saying, signing in and logging in users. They've explained everything. So it's saying sign in and manage users with ease using popular login providers. So you can actually sign in using Firebase with so many different things, something like Google, something like Apple, something like GitHub, all those things. You can actually use Firebase to sign in. When you visit a website, you normally see some telling you sign in with Google instead of just providing usernames, password each and every single time. You can sign in with your Google account, and that is quite easy, and it's what Firebase came in to the rescue. Just gives you all those backend authentication systems that make it easy for you to sign in your users. You can also use databases if you want to create something like a wallpaper app where users can upload images, where they can download images, or any type of data. You can use the real-time database, Cloud Firestore, AI, cloud storage. There are so many things that you can use Firebase for. But in this case today, we'll just be looking at authentication because that is where our application normally starts. So I'll just click on authentication, and you can authenticate using Google. You can authenticate using Facebook login. If you want to sign in your users with Facebook, you can do that. And what we'll do, we shall use a custom authentication system. And for a custom authentication system, this is a system where you can just provide your details such as an email and a password, and then authenticate your users with something like that. And as you can see, there's authenticate using Google, and down there's authenticate using Google Java. So we need to select one that has Java, since we are using Java as our programming language. So we've said we are going to authenticate using a custom authentication system, and we need to select the last option, which is custom authentication system under Java. So I just click on that, and after clicking on that, it will open now this page. You can see this page actually provides so many things. Even it provides some code that can be used to sign in your user. Okay, it actually has some code. So the first thing that you need to do is to connect your app to Firebase, and that is why we logged in our Android Studio to the same Google account that we created Firebase with, so that if we connect to Firebase, it can just be straightforward. So you just start with the first step and click connect to Firebase. It will go to Firebase, and it will open a new tab and go to Firebase. And when you now click on add project, it should now add your project that is in Android Studio. It should even provide the name. Our app in Android Studio is called Navigation. So when I click on add project, it should provide that app Navigation. And as you can see, it has provided the Navigation app from our Android Studio. So you can see that it's still loading because it's waiting for me to finish what I'm doing on the web. And our app up here, you can see it's called Navigation up there. And that is what it has been it has been named as a Firebase. I'm not the one who has written this Navigation. So this is to show you that it's actually connecting well. That is why you need to follow those steps exactly the same way or in the same order that I have done. And then when you just open that, you add your project, just click on continue. After clicking on continue, you can do all this. This is the step 2 of 3, and you can add different Google Analytics for this project. You won't be using analytics for now, so it can be optional. You can do all this, or you can just disable. That is just optional. It's not actually necessary. Maybe if you are launching your app to Play Store, it's good to enable the Google Analytics, but it's not mandatory. Yeah, then you can click on continue and choose an analytics account. You can say it's your default account for Firebase. When you click on that drop down, you just say default account for Firebase and then click on create project. So what this will do, it will create your project and then connect it to Android Studio now with Firebase, such that you can create different ways users can now sign into your application. And remember, we said we will be using a custom login service. In that, we'll just be providing an email and a password for our users. And you can see that our Firebase project is ready. And after it's ready, you continue, and then we connect it to Android Studio. After it's loading, you can see it will now connect itself to Android Studio. If you did not follow these steps, and now you can see we can now connect it to Android Studio. If you did not follow these steps, there is a way you can connect it manually, but now that is a lot of work by downloading so many different JSON files for your project and all of that. But now doing it with the steps that I have followed, you can just connect it just automatically, just like that, and click on connect. And to know that your project has been connected, you need to now get this screen that your Android Studio project is connected to your Firebase Android app. Awesome. And I can now go back to Android Studio, and you can see that the first connect your Firebase is actually connected and it has been checked. The second step is add the Firebase Authentication SDK to your app. So we need to add the different code, the code that will be, or the different libraries that will be used to sign in our user. What am I saying by this? For a Firebase user, we need something to write our code, something like Firebase user or something user. By writing this, you can see that something like Firebase user it's not identified. We can only create a class. What we need to add now, they are the different libraries that will be used to authenticate our application. So we cannot use something like Firebase user. And by that, we just click on add the Firebase Authentication SDK to your app, and then it will add the different libraries that will be used for our Firebase app. And then you click on accept changes. After clicking on accept pages, Gradle will download all the necessary libraries that will be used for your app, or that will be used to connect your app to Firebase. So Gradle is cooking, and after just downloading everything, it will now be saved to your application, and you can use now the different codes that get your Firebase project server keys. This is the third step. As you can see, Gradle is still building, but the next step after adding the Firebase SDK, the third step is getting your project server keys. This is not necessary for now, but if you're doing a large scale app and you needed your keys, you can actually go to your service accounts and generate a new private key for your Firebase administration. So with these keys, anyone with the key can actually be able to modify your Firebase cloud. If it's adding things to your database, they can be able to add it as an admin or something. This is for just very basic, no general use cases, and you'll find yourself using that when you actually get to build very large scale applications. But for now, you don't have to get the server project keys. After it builds and imports Firebase to your app, you can actually now start doing authentication to your Android Studio app. And it's actually now configuring the projects. After configuring, it will finish up and will now add the code that we can use to communicate with Firebase on the cloud. And to look at now at our Firebase, you can open Firebase console and now go to your Firebase console, and now you'll find your app being the next one. And as you can see, you see the navigation app right over there. Going back to Android Studio, still processing. And how I've brought these background tasks here, I can minimize, and I've brought that by just clicking down here where it's loading. When you just click on it, it shows you maybe the progress, or if it was downloading something. If you just wanted to see what it's doing in the background, you can just click down here. If you want to hide it, just click on hide process. So it's configuring. Let it finish configuring, and I can go back to my Firebase and what I can do now is to click on my navigation app, and after clicking on it, it will show me all the different services that Firebase can now give me. So just this is the home page. When you just click on this, these are the different things that you can add to your app. So you can see that it's telling you that you can add AI assistants to your app. You can add authentication, you can add cloud firestore, you can add storage, you can add hosting. All these are the different things that you can actually add to your application. But let it finish on Android Studio, and Gradle is still in progress. It's actually building the model, and after doing that it will connect. And as you can see, this is the same com that I was telling you, that it acts like a unique identifier to your app. So com.example.navigation, it's the same one that you will see up here. Let me minimize. As you can see, our app is named com.example.navigation. That is the same name that is actually here. And what you need to do for our app, we need to add authentication. Okay, authentication is an end-to-end identity solution in under 10 lines of code. If you are to do authentication manually, you would have to do something like just implementing email verification on your own. Just when it comes to the password, since you're not supposed to store the user passwords in a plain text, you maybe need to salt your passwords. You need to do what? You need to how do we call it? Like encrypt. Yeah, it's called encryption. You need to encrypt the user password, and doing that manually, it's quite a lot of work. So what Firebase gives us is a very easy solution to handle all that. It will handle all the authentication and putting your users all in one place. And how you can add authentication to your app, you can just click on authentication here, or just click on build, and you'll see the different services. If you expand on build, you'll now see all these different new services. Some are new, such as the data connect and app hosting. You can see that they are new. And now these are all the different things that you can add to your app. You can add machine learning, you can add a real-time database, you can add storage, and you can do app checking. But what you need in this case is authentication. Now clicking on this authentication is the same as if I was to click the authentication that is here. But I'll click on the one that is on the left, and after clicking on the authentication, it has different tutorials on how you can do authentication. They are on YouTube, and you can do authentication with so many different providers, such as Facebook, such as Google, Apple, and you'll see them when you now click on get started. When I click on get started, it will now add authentication to my app using different providers. Now these are the different providers that can use authentication to your app. If you want to sign in with Google, just select Google here. If you want to sign in with Microsoft, sign in with Twitter, sign in with Apple, sign in with GitHub, sign in with Play Games, Yahoo, Game Center, all these things. This is what you can implement with Firebase, and that is a really cool feature, because if you were to do that manually, it would take you quite a minute to do that. And what you want to do is just a simple email and password. So I just click email stroke password. Just click on email stroke password, and that is what I will enable to our app. uh, just that. And when I click on enable, I will just save. And this, you can see it has been enabled. And if you wanted to add another one, you can just click on add new provider. And if you wanted to use something like Google, you can actually do something like Google. If you wanted to use a phone, this is where maybe it can send you a code on your phone or provide you with a call where you can input the code. You can actually also do that with Firebase. It can send you those OTP. They are normally called as one-time passwords on your phone. Or if you want to sign in with Facebook, you want to sign in with Apple, GitHub, it has so many different options. And since we have enabled our email and password, we can now go back to our app and uh, and actually do that, do enable, do write the code to now log in our users, using now that Firebase email and password. And after it has finished, you can see that it's not building anymore, but it's bringing some errors on that. I think we just need to build it again. So we can just build it again, and it will fix all those errors. Those errors are not a problem, so you don't need to worry about that. These are running device, and I can run the app now again. And in this case, you can see that I'm being asked to just provide the name, the username, the email, and the password. Okay, so I just provide the email, the password, and I can to do it as a good practice. It's good to let your users confirm password and to check whether those passwords are the same, so that the user doesn't repeat a mistake when they are inputting their password. And so Gradle is building, and it will now run our app to our phone. And what we need to do is to now after signing in our user, we need to go to the login page. So we need to modify our login page. We need to modify our login page so that the user can now be able to log in to the application. And after logging in, we can add another page that is now called home page. So we can have a home page activity where after the user has logged in successfully, they can go to the home page. So those are the things we need to do. When we start with our app, we go to the sign up. If the user doesn't have an account, they can sign up, and after signing up, they can go to the login screen, and that is after the account has been created successfully. And Gradle is still building. It's still building our app. And so going back to Firebase, you can see that the sign-in method has been set to email stroke password, and it's actually enabled. Upgrade to enable, so don't worry about that. And the different things that we can add databases and or whatnot. Yeah, so let's just wait for it to finish. It's still loading up here, and as it's loading, you can see that it has fixed all the errors because it just needed to build after the new libraries for Firebase were added. Okay, yeah, so I can minimize my device so that I can open the Firebase again. So I go to tools and then click on Firebase, and what we were working with was authentication, and it was authenticate using a custom authentication system. In our case, it's Java, and I have added the Firebase Authentication SDK to our application. We said that step 3 is optional. Now, what you need to do is get a shared instance and initialize. You can see it's actually providing me with the code. And to do that, the code that you need to add is private Firebase authentication out. So you can just copy that code. Um, and I think my network is bringing some issues, but I'll log back into the meeting. Um, so I think that I might have lost. Hello, hello. So I'll use the internal microphone. Hello, can you hear me? Hi everyone. I think I had lost my connection, so I'll just share my screen again, and I hope you are hearing me. So I hope you can still hear me and see my screen. Awesome, yeah. So I'll now just go back to Android Studio, and Gradle is still building. Yeah, now what this Firebase Assistant does, it actually provides us with the code that is needed for the user. It will provide us with the code that is needed. As a first thing, what we need to do is on the, which activity is this? This is the main activity. And for the main activity, here is where we are signing in the user. This is where if we go to activity main, this is where our sign in screen is. If I go to design, as you can see, this is where our sign up screen is. And now what we need to do is to add that Firebase code to our main activity. So we just click on the main activity, and up here, or you can actually just do the Firebase stuff after the button that you did. So you just copy this code and say private Firebase mauth, and then you copy, and after copying, you just paste it on your main activity, and it will actually bring an error that Firebase auth is not in your class. And what you can do is you can click on that and then say import class. As you can see now, we can be able to use Firebase authentication stuff. So what that has added, it has added this import statement. So import com.google.firebase auth. That is what our application has added when I've said private Firebase auth mauth. And after doing that, we initialize Firebase authentication. And where we normally initialize this Firebase authentication is in the onCreate method. Here where I said where we normally write our code is where you just copy this and paste it in your code. So this will initialize the Firebase authentication, member authentication. So this is Firebase authentication, and we are initializing so here we are initializing Firebase auth. This is how we initialize Firebase authentication, and our app has run. um, so this is the app that I was running prior. After initializing our Firebase authentication, what you need to do next is, let me go back to Firebase. What you need to do next is you can get the current user. So you can get this line to just get the current user. So what I'm just doing is copying the code, copying and just pasting the code, because Firebase actually provides us with the code. And what you're going to do is just see how we can now write code using documentation. And Firebase user, as you can see, if we need to get a user, we need to use this class of Firebase user. And if it's not recognized, I just click on it and then say import class, and this will have the current user of our app. And that is it in terms of initializing Firebase. You can just initialize Firebase with that, and we did that after we said that we declare our Firebase authentication, uh, instance variable. So this is the variable that you will be needed to use Firebase authentication. That is one of the variables, and as you can see, it's the one that is initialized to Firebase authentication. Then you get instance, and if you want to get a current user, you just say Firebase user. The current user is the authentication. You get the current user. And what do we now need to do to sign in our user? What we need to do to sign in our user is, after the user clicks on the sign up, so here is where the sign up button was clicked. What we were doing is just display the text view and say sign up button has been clicked. But what we need to actually do is to sign up our user using the email and the password that they have provided. So the email edit text and the password edit text, we need to get those passwords, and we also need to get the email. So now that brings in a question of, how do we get the text from what the user has typed? So if the user types in something like their email is eric@gmail.com, how do we actually get that text from this edit text? And that is actually simple. How we normally get the text, we just get the text by saying email edit text dot get text, and for the password is also the same, password edit text, and then you get the text. For setting the text, this is what normally is used to set the text. You just say whatever the text view, you set the text to in this case we were using r.string. So if you wanted to use this, to know how we came to this, maybe you didn't attend the previous lecture, there's a whole YouTube video of how we did all these things, and now instead of just display text view setting the text to sign up has been clicked, we now need to do here, inside here, sign up our user to Firebase. Here is where we now sign up our user to Firebase, and the first thing we need to do is first get the what you first get the email the user has typed. And how do we get the email that the user has typed? We say email edit text, then you say dot get text, and you just say email edit text, and then say dot get text. Let it open the different dot get text. As you can see, dot get text, and then you convert it into a string, dot to string, and that will get the text and convert it to a string. But since this is the email, we can have a string for the email. We can have a string to store that email. So we say string user email, string email. We can say string email, and then say email is equals to whatever. Now email is equals to email edit text, and then dot get text dot to string. But it's still the same thing if you can do this on a single line. The same thing that we were saying, you can say string name is equals to whatever. The same way you can say string name is equals to Eric. It's the same thing that we are doing here. But in this case, it's just that we are getting the email from the email edit text. It's just the same thing. And the same case for the password. Get second, get the password from the password edit text. And you can get it from the password edit text, and then say password string password, and it should be small p. Password is equals to password edit text dot get text dot to string. That is how you can get, and this is a function, so you just say dot get text like that. And after doing that, after having the email and the password, here is where we can now log in our user. And how can we log in our user? To log in our user using Firebase, we need to create a function to log in our user to Firebase, of which in that function we will provide an email and a password. And that is what we are going to do. Outside the main function, the onCreate function, you just click on this curly brace to see where it's ending, and it's ending right here. So outside here, we create another function and say private void sign up to Firebase. And what do we sign up to Firebase with? Using the string email and then string password. So that is our function to sign up our user to Firebase. It will use an email and a password because it's the same thing that we specified Firebase will use. So we said Firebase will use email and a password. So it's sign up user to Firebase and then say string email and password. And what we need to do now is to call that function. So you can copy this function, copy, and then you paste it here to where you can sign in your user. Paste it, sign up to Firebase, and then say email and password. And when you click that button, it will call this sign up function to Firebase, and your program will come here and now use the username, the email, and the password to sign up our user to Firebase. And now how can we do that? We need to now write the Firebase code that will be used to sign up our user, and that is very simple. To do that, you just come to Firebase and you can search you go now to the Firebase documentation and search something like sign up user using Firebase email and password. This will go to the Firebase documentation to how you can authenticate your user with Firebase and email and a password. So you just click on the Firebase link and you can see the first thing here is password authentication, and here is where you'll get the code to sign up your user to Firebase. And Android, we need to specify that our platform is Android, so you can actually come here to the and say Android, or you can just say Firebase documentation, Firebase documentation. And after doing Firebase authentication documentation, you can click on Firebase documentation and just go to the Android build. You can come here to build and say authentication, since it's what we are using, and it will now tell you everything to do with Firebase. If you want to read, actually, if you're using different things such as Google, Firebase, Azure, or just using any programming language, every programming language has its own documentation, and this is where it has the different instruction on how to use that language. If it's Java, we have the Java documentation. As you can see, we have the Java documentation. This is the most recommended way because it will give you the official uh, documentation or the official code that is actually designed on everything. If you want to use Java language in any way, everything is documented here. So just think of it, documentation, as a library of everything that an application offers. Even if it's something like Python, Python also has its own documentation. As you can see, Python documentation, Python. It has its way of how you can use a certain thing. So in this case, we are using Firebase, and Firebase has its own documentation. And after this is the first page of the documentation, and what I need to select is Android. Okay, Android, and after I select on Android here, I can say password authentication. Password authentication, because it's what we are using. So Firebase, authenticate Firebase using password-based accounts on Android. So by following these, it will give you all the steps. If you haven't already, add Firebase to your Android project. These are the steps that we followed. If you haven't connected your app, do so from the Firebase console. These are the steps that we are following. And if you open these, it will show you how you can add Firebase to your Android project. If you haven't gone to the Firebase console, it will show you. So we have done steps 1, steps 2, and then you need to enable email, password, and sign in. This is what we did here. We enabled email and blah 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 sign in. So for the documentation, it gives you all the steps that you need. All the steps that you need. And because we have actually done all that, what we just need is the code here now. Here is the code that we need. And to do that, we select our language to Java. And as you can see, private Firebase mauth, that is the exact same thing that we did over here. Mauth, private Firebase auth, mauth. And after doing that, we said initialize Firebase authentication, and we actually did that. Initialize Firebase authentication by saying mauth is equals to Firebase auth dot get instance. That is what we actually did from the Firebase code that was in the assistant here. So this also follows the documentation, but now the documentation will give you everything. And for a user, if a user is not currently signed in, you can use this code to check if the user is signed in or whatever. We don't need to do that because since we are, for now we are just signing in. And here is where you can now create a new account by passing the user's email address and password to create user with email and password. And what you need now is actually now this code. You just copy all this code. You copy all this code, and you can actually use this copy code sample. You can use this button here or select it all and then copy the code. Just right click, you right click and copy. And after copying this code, this is how you can just sign in your user, sign up your user to Firebase. Go to the function and now paste your code there. Paste your code to your function here. Right click and then paste. Right click, paste. This is the code now that you need. If there are these errors, is because something like auth result has not been, maybe it hasn't been imported, and you just click on it and then say import class, and it will import that class. And also the on complete listener import class, just click on it and it will import that class. And also null, it will import everything. It will import that class. For the task, click on it, it will also import the task class, import class. And log, if you want to log, though it's not necessary. For the log, you can do that. For the tag, it's not a must you do this logging, so I can just delete that. And also update UI user, it's not a must to do that. It's not a must to log, it's not a must we update UI. Now what you need to do is for the toast, you'll see how a toast works. So you just click on import toast, and for this you can, so for the toast you'll see what a toast is. So you just say get application context. For the toast, it's the little notification you normally see popping up on your phone down there. If maybe something has downloaded and it has completed downloaded, you normally see something at the bottom of your phone saying download complete. You'll actually see it. So to do that, we can actually have a toast. We can actually have a toast that says uh, something like sign in successful. So to explain what this code does, you can see that it's using the M authentication that we created up there, and it's calling the function create user with email and password. And all this code we have just copied it from the official documentation of Firebase. So it will create user with email and password, and it will use the email and the password, and add on complete listener. So this will ensure, or this is used to listen whether it will go to Firebase and ensure that the user has been created over here. So if a user signs in here, the user will be created here. If we sign in with our email and password to know that this has been successfully created, the users will appear here on our Facebook. So add on complete listener will go to Firebase and ensure that the user has been created here. And after the user has been created here, that is when this will be executed. And on complete, that will ensure that everything has been completed on successfully. And if that task is successful, now whatever is in here will be executed. if we wanted to go to another page, such as the home page or the login page, we can now go in here. So you can say something like, when the code reaches here, the user has been successfully signed up. The user has been successfully signed up. Signed up, not up. The user has been successfully signed up when the code successfully uh, reaches here. And one of the things we can do is display a toast down there. You can say toast dot make text. So you'll see how a toast works. And what you need to provide is first the context. So you can say something like main activity dot this. This is the same thing that we were actually doing up here. When we were going to another class, when we were going to another activity here, new intent. Here we were saying, you can say instead of saying get application context, you can say main activity dot this. So it's coming from main activity dot this to login activity dot class. So the context can be provided as the class name. So you can just say main activity dot this, or say get application context, and then the message that you want to display, you just give it the message. And what message do we want it to display? We can say user signed up successfully. User signed up successfully. And then you can provide what the next, and then length, the length of how you want it to show, length long or length short. You can say toast dot length long, and then lastly you show it, and then say toast dot show. You just click on, you say show, and you can make this go to the next line, and you'll see how this toast works. Authentication failed. If it's not successful, it will be saying authentication failed. So that is what will happen when the user clicks on that button. And we can also say display text view. After the user has clicked on that, we can say that the text view will also display the display text view dot set text sign up clicked. No, now we won't say sign up clicked, but we will say something like Firebase signed up perfectly. So this is how we can sign in our user to Firebase. And now what we just need to do is to run this app. So we'll just run this app and see whether our user will be signed in perfectly to Firebase. So I'll just do my phone right here, and I can close the application, and as it's doing that, I can close it, I can clear it, and after clearing, I can now run my application. So our application will run, and that will now enable us to create our user and connect our app to Firebase and test out where. As you can see, it has launched successfully, and I can also bring my phone up here, and you'll also be able to see how a toast works. So a toast is the little notification. You'll definitely see it down here, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So now if I can maybe click on the sign up button, you'll see that it will display a toast here, something like authentication failed. Okay, so if I click on sign up, actually even the application is crashing. This is because it's trying to log in our app to Firebase, and we haven't provided any email, we haven't provided any password, we haven't provided nothing. And also I think we will need to build our application so that it can run afresh. So I can say my username is Eric, and then my email is eric@gmail.com, and then my password is something like 12345, and my confirm password is 12345, and click OK. And I can now click on sign up. Let me click on sign up. And as you can see, it's just saying authentication is failed. So this is the toast that I'm talking about down here. Let me just zoom in my phone so that you can see my what I'm talking about, a toast. When I click on sign up, there's something that you can see down here saying authentication failed. Authentication failed. If I click on sign up again, you can see authentication failed. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is because I haven't built my app after adding the new code. So what I need to do is I'll build my app using Gradle, so I can now build the app fresh. So just run the app. So it will now build the app, because I'm pretty sure, okay, it's launching on the device. So when we click on the sign up, it will use the Firebase auth and string email. And the reason why it's not getting the email and the password is because on click email and password. So let me just input my username, Eric, and email something like eric@gmail.com. Then my password will be 12345. My password again will be 12345, and I'll try to now sign up. And after signing up, it's actually saying authentication failed. So to debug that and see what could be the problem, we can try and see the text view. So we can say this display set text. We can see whether it's getting the email and the password perfectly. So to do that, we can just say here, we just display the email and the password at the, we just say something like you set the text to email, and then you plus, and then you do that, and you plus the password. So what I've done is when I click the sign up button, when I click this sign up button, this text view that is down here should display the email and then display a full colon and then display the password. That is what it's supposed to do. So I'll just run my app again. And when I click on sign up, this display text will display our email and our password. So let us see whether that will work. So I can provide my name, then say that my email is eric@gmail.com and my password is 12345. Password is 12345. Then password is 12345. And now when I click on sign up, it should say email and then full colon and then 12345 because that is my password. Exactly. So that means that we are getting everything perfectly. So eric@gmail.com and then current user, then amount. So our email is got perfectly and our password is got perfectly. And what we are doing now is calling this function, signing up and providing the email and providing the password. Create user with email and password, and yeah, when I click on sign up, it should not display uh, authentication failed. It should say that Firebase user signed up successfully. So maybe we could have a problem with Firebase. So let me go to my console and refresh it. So this is just to show you some of the errors. So if our user is successfully signed in, this is where you will find the user. This is where you will find your user, and as you can see, we have provided our email and password. So let me see whether these are the some of the. Okay, let me go to settings. Okay. Yeah, so let me see Firebase, and this is the main activity. Or it could be maybe the step that we ignored, because we ignored this third step. Maybe it could be the reason why it's not working. Maybe click on generate new private key. So let's just try that. I've clicked on that, and maybe Firebase changed that it's mandatory, but when I was doing it previously, it wasn't actually mandatory. So let me just try and do that. And for the service accounts, I think, yeah, go to the service accounts tab in your project, click the generate new private key. So I click on generate new private key, your private key, blah blah blah, generate key, and you need to keep it confidential. As I told you, that if someone has this key, they can actually compromise your database, and it's not actually something good. So I'll save it on my desktop. Yeah, so that is my key. Let me just see how it looks. So this is my private key. It's the key ID, begin private key, end private key. So that is my, just think of it as a very crucial password. It's a very complicated password that if a user has that, they can be able to compromise everything that is in here. So lastly, what I'll do is I'll build my app and profile, run app, debug. So I'll just run my app again. And it will build my app. And after building, I think I can open logcut. So if maybe you experience an error that you're not quite sure what it is, like in this case I'm not sure what is happening, I'll show you how you can monitor how everything is happening behind the scenes in Android. So I'll say my username is Eric and then my email is eric@gmail.com. And then my password is 12345. My password is 12345. And click down here, then click on sign up. So it should change this text to, and what is not happening? I think the app has crashed or something. So click on sign up. Yeah, and it's saying authentication failed. So if you want to monitor what is happening in your app, you can open the log cut. So at the bottom left corner, you'll see there are different things. So there's build. This is where you can see Gradle what it's doing. There's the run. This is the app. After our app has run, the run application will open. Those are the app quality inside, and then we have the log cut. Okay, we have the log cut. Now the log cut, this is what will give you all the processes that are happening on your phone. Even if you connect your physical phone, you can be able to see what is actually happening. So in this case, we are using the Pixelate emulator. And now if we run our application again, now it will start showing all the information that is happening behind the scenes on our phone. And as you can see, it has started doing some things, and there are actually some things that are failing. So now this is what is happening behind the scenes on your phone, and this is what we'll use to debug, or we will use to see the problem, where our problem is coming in when we try to sign into Firebase. So we just let it start, and our app has started. Yeah, so when I input my email, something like eric@gmail.com, so you can see it's debugging, it's showing things that are happening. And for the password, we say the password is input my password 123456789 and say 123456789. That is my password. And when my app encounters a problem, when I click on sign up, it will actually show me where it will log down here with an error. So it will show me what the problem actually is. So so let me just click on sign up. I will confirm. So the email has been done there. Firebase signed up perfectly. Okay, why is it working now? Right now it's working. I think I've opened the log card and it has just, or maybe it's because I've thought of another thing, or maybe it's because our app had very few characters on our password. So let me try 1 2 3 4 5. So maybe Firebase requires your password to be more than 6 characters, but let's just see. 1 2 3 4 5, and then change my email to Eric2, because I can't repeat emails, and click on sign up, eric2@gmail. Exactly. I think that's the problem. Firebase requires you to have more than 6 characters for your password. So those are the things that you need to tell the user. So you need to tell the user that your password should be more than 6 characters. Okay, that was the reason why it wasn't actually signing me up. And when I go to Firebase and then go to authentication, Firebase, go to authentication and users, you can see that my user is actually here, eric@gmail.com. The user has been created at my Firebase account. And now if I was to add now my password, so this was 1 2 3 4 5, and then I can say 6. So I'm pretty sure it's because Facebook needs 6 characters as the minimum. So when I click on sign up, I think this should work. So sign up 1 2 3 4 5 6. As you can see, user signed up successfully. Firebase signed up successfully. So this is some of the things you need to consider. If I refresh here, if I reload, you'll see that Eric2 has been created here. As you can see, Eric2 and Eric. So yeah, that is how you can log in your users. You can sign them up to Firebase, and after signing up, something like that of the password being 6 characters, you can actually test whether the user, if the user clicks on the sign up button and their password is less than 6 characters, it's something that you can write in your code. So you go to where the sign up button has been clicked, and the sign up button is clicked here. So the first thing you need to do is ensure that the password is more than 6 characters. And how can you ensure that? After the user, after you get the password from the get password screen, and we have already got it down here. So after you get the password here, ensure that the password is more than 6 characters. So after you get the password, it's stored in a string. So you can say something like, if password, so this is the password that they have typed, if password dot length, okay, dot length, if password dot length is less than 6 characters. So if it's less than 6 characters, you need to tell the user that your password needs to be more than 6 characters. So if the password dot length is less than 6, if it's less than 6, is 6 less than 6? No, 6 is not less than 6. So if it's less than 6, if it has 5 characters downwards, you need to tell the user. So you can use a toast. So you can say toast dot make text, and then get application context, and then what do you want to display to the user? Password should be 6 characters. Password should be more than 6 characters. More than 6 characters. So you can you can use a toast to do that, and then you say toast dot length short, and then dot show. And also you can use the display text view and then say display text view dot set text, and set the same text. Password should be more than 6 characters, and you do that and say you close. And after doing that, you do not need to go on with the function, so you say return so that you don't go on with the function. And also another thing you can do is you make the cursor go to where you want the user to input the password. So you can say the edit text, so you can say password edit text dot request focus. So what this will do, it will ensure the cursor will go to the edit text of the button. And another thing, you can do so much with the edit text. You can set an error, password edit text dot set error. You can say more than 6 characters, more than 6 characters required. So just look at what all this will do. If I try to enter my password being less than 6 characters. So let me just run the app, and if password.length is less than 6, it will do a toast, and we saw what a toast does. It will also set the display to something like the password should be more than 6 characters, and that is it. And yeah, if I input my username Eric, then my email to be eric3 at, or something else, john at gmail.com, and then the password to be 12345 12345. So if I try to do this, it will actually set this text and tell me that I have an error. So you can see that it's telling me that more than 6 characters are required, and the code that is doing that, it's this code that is here. Password edit text dot set error. This is what is typing more than 6 characters required, this text right here. And down here we are saying display text view, password should be more than 6 characters. So this is what is being displayed down here. Password should be more than 6 characters. And the other one was the toast. We are also using the toast and saying that password should be more than 6 characters. So for the toast, when I click, you'll see that a toast down here will say password should be more than 6 characters. If you read it, it's because I am using toast.length short. That is why it's not staying for long. If I wanted it to stay for longer, I would have said length long. But the one that is best to do is say more than 6 characters are required. And what the request focus is doing is setting my cursor. So if my cursor was up there, if I was maybe typing that Eric up there, and then I click on sign up, you'll see that the cursor will go to where the problem is. Password should be more than 6 characters, and you can see that the cursor has gone to the edit text where the problem is. So these are the different things that you can actually do in your application. And after doing that, it's just logging in your user perfectly. And for login, after the user has signed up successfully, they can go to a login page. They can go to a log. So if I click on login page, we can now log into the application, maybe automatically, or they can provide their email and or their password. And what we can do is, now after the user has signed up successfully, we can go to this login to app activity. So we can log into this app, and for the logging only requires the email and the password, and now you just log in. Very simple as that. You don't need to have all those things as creating an account. And how can we log in? So first of all, when you click on sign up and your account has been created successfully, we can automatically take you to the login screen. And to do that, we just do the same. We use an intent the same way that we did. So after Firebase has been logged in successfully, here here is where Firebase has been successfully logged in. So we can just create an intent and say intent go to login activity, and then say is equals to new intent, and then say main activity dot biz, or get application context. That is what we were saying. Where do you want to come from? It's from this class to login activity dot class. And after doing that, you say start activity, and then say go to login activity. So this will automatically take you to the login activity after you have signed in perfectly and your email has been created on Firebase. So let's just run the application and see that if our user signs up perfectly, they are redirected automatically to the login page, such a way that we don't have to click any button. So if I input my email, because what is needed, it's just the email and the password. I can say username is Eric, email is something like, username is John or Jane, and then the email is jane at gmail.com, jane@gmail.com. And if I was to use my password and create a password that is not less than 6 characters, if I say my password is Jane, and my password is Jane, and then try to sign up, it won't allow me to sign up. Password should be more than 6 characters, so I need to provide maybe 2 Janes and say Jane, 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 and also here Jane, 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 and now this will try to sign me up to Firebase. As you can see, Jane is not a user in our Firebase, so we just have Eric and Eric too. If Jane signs up perfectly, Jane should also appear here. And when I click on sign up, it should now, if it signs up perfectly, it will redirect me automatically to the login page. And as you can see, it has redirected me to the login activity automatically. And that is how the application is supposed to maybe function. And for the login activity, maybe we just need to provide the username and the email, so that now our user can just log in without without signing up again. So as you can see, there is jane@gmail.com, and it doesn't have to be a valid email because you are not validating this email. But if you were to validate emails, you can do that. You can actually validate those emails where you can tell the user to click a link that has been sent to the email that has been provided here to ensure that it's actually them, or to ensure that that email is actually correct or perfect. That is what now Firebase can do. And as you've seen, that is it's automatically taking us to the login activity. So for the login activity, we have just a few minutes. So for the login activity, if you wanted now to do for the login, so what you need to do for the login is just to now sign in the user. You just sign in the user. So if you go to the activity login, it has this cruise image, this football guy image, and what we need is a login screen for the guy, is to provide maybe a login is to provide somewhere where the user can input, what do we call it, an email and a password. So to do that, I'll just drag my image down. Uh-huh. Yeah, and after doing that, I can provide text input where the user can input their, what do we call it, where they can input their password, where they can input their email, not the password. So I'll just constrain it to the left and to the right. So here is where the user can input the email, and after inputting the email, they can also input the password. So this is just to remind you of what we were doing. But now here we are actually creating logic that can now sign in our user. So after doing that, our user can now provide in the password. So we provide the password, and our password, we constrain it again. We constrain it on the left and on the right. I have just dragged it, which that shouldn't be the case. I want to constrain it, so I need to ensure that is selected, and constrain it on the right and constrain it at the top of this guy, and just drag it down a little bit. So here is where, after a user has signed in, here is where they will provide their username and also their password. So as simple as that. And providing a hint on what you are saying, you just right click, go to XML, and instead of the text, you can delete that text and say hint. Just say hint. So Android hint is input your email. So that is for the email. And then go to the next one. Here is where you input your password. So you just say right click and then give a user the hint to input the password. So hint. So you add a hint and say hint. Then you hit Android hint, input your password. And now that is where the user can input their passwords. And after inputting the email and the password, they now need to log in. So let me just drag up there just a little bit, because I want to add a login button. So this will be a good way to like recap what you are doing, or how to create a user interface and to join it using in different activities. So I have drag and dropped in my button, and yeah, that's my button. So this button is the one that will be used to log in the user. So this is my button to log in, and I will constrain it on the left, and on the right, and at the top, lastly, I'll constrain it to password and just drag it down a little bit. And this button is what will now be used to log in. So I'll just right click and set its text to something like, instead of text button, I just say login, and that is it. So that is the login button. Input your email, input your password, and there's the login button. And after doing that, I need to go to the login activity to reference all those different views. So for the first thing is the text view, edit text, email, edit text, and then edit text again for password, edit text, and the last one is the button, login button. And I can import the class, so I select and then say import class. That will import the class for edit text, and then import the class for the button. And after doing that, we need to now reference our views, then say bind our views to our main activity, and then say email edit text is equals to find view by ID, and then r.id dot, now go back to the XML activity login. I need to find the ID of the email, and then right click, go to XML. What is the ID? Edit text text2. So it's edit text text2. So that is the ID. I copy it. I just copy that ID. Copy this ID. So right click, copy, and then paste it to my login activity. Paste it, and that is what will be used to reference the email edit text. And for the password edit text is equals to find view by ID, and then r.id dot, go to the activity login. And for the password, I can click on my password, right click, go to XML, and then find the edit text ID, which is edit text password. I don't care about that, and then go to my main activity, and then paste that ID and do that. And lastly, for the button, say login button is equals to find view by ID, then r.id dot button. Go to my activity login XML, go to the button, and right click and go to XML, and the ID of the button is button2. Copy that, paste it here, and that is it. And now what do you want to do? Set an on click listener to the button, so that we can listen if the login button has been like pressed. So say login button dot set on click listener, and then we said you just type new view dot on click listener. So select the one that has view dot on click listener, and it will generate that code for you. And now here is where you get the email and password. So how do we get the email and password? The same thing that we were doing with the other edit text. So you just say string email is equals to email edit text dot get text dot to string. The same thing for the password. Say string password is equals to password edit text dot get text dot to string. So that is how you get the email and also get the password that the user has input. After getting the email and the password, now log in the user to Firebase. You log in the user to Firebase, and the same thing we did for signing up the user. You just say, you just go outside the main function, which is here, and say private void login user to Firebase using the email, using the string email and string password, and as simple as that. And after doing that, you just now say login user to Firebase using the email and password. So this code is the exact same code that we used to maybe log in to sign up our user. If we go to the main activity, we used this code to sign up our user. Create user. For signing up, we created a user. But now for logging in our user, we'll just say login user with email and password. So we just say, you can actually get this code from the Firebase documentation, or you can do what you can copy it from here. But first of all, we will need this mauth, and mauth is the Firebase initialization. So you just initialize Firebase. You have to initialize Firebase even for this, because it's a different activity. So you just say Firebase auth, mauth, the same thing. So when you get it the first time, it's just the same thing that you'll be repeating. And then initialize Firebase. So then you say mauth dot get instance, and you normally initialize it here. You say Firebase mauth dot get instance. And now to log in our user, you can just come here to the documentation and log in. So you can say sign in. This is sign in to the app, and for logging in, it's just the same thing. You just say Firebase dot login, password authentication, email authentication. So let me see for logging in, that is Facebook logging in, sign up, and what you need to do is just write the same thing. So you say mauth, is it mauth? Yeah, mauth dot login. So here we are logging in. Okay, when you just type log in, mauth, is it mauth? Yeah, it's mauth dot let me just say mauth dot login, sign in. Okay, sign in with email. So it's sign in with email and password. So you just click on that. I can just copy the login that we used here. Let me just copy it so that it can auto complete my task or my code. I can copy what we did here, or I can copy it from the documentation and then change sign in with sign. This is actually sign in with email and password. Signs into your app. Did we use sign in? we used create user, so this is sign in. So let's just copy this, sign in with email and password, and then paste it to our app. And yeah, that is it. And after doing that, we import the classes. So we import that class, we import auth result, and on complete listener we import the class, the same thing that we did. Null, we import the class. For the task, we also import the class. So this will be used to now sign in the user with the email and password that they have provided. We said you don't need to provide we don't need to log. We can do the user, and we don't have that update UI. We don't need the login. Authentication failed. So here we can say login failed, because here we are now, and which activity are we in? Login activity. This, and then we say toast import class, then update UI. We delete that. So after the user signs in successfully, we want to toast and say login successful, and say login failed. That is login failed. And then here we say login successful. Sure thing. And after the login is successful, it will now just show that our user has been able to log into our app successfully using the email and the password that they had actually provided. And by doing that, I can run the app once more, and I hope everything is well. Yeah, so everything should be working perfectly. In such a case, since we have users such as Eric, but I don't think I can remember their passwords. So in this case, Firebase will actually store their passwords in the perfect way. You can't be able to see any user's password, unlike if you are to create everything manually on yourself. You could have maybe been able to see other different people's password. You wouldn't want people like Google to actually know the passwords that you're using, so they normally encrypt your passwords. So let us see whether we'll be able to log in. So we'll create a new account and try whether we can be able to log in. And logging in, we will know whether we've been able to log in by login successful. It should say that the login has been successful. So our app is running. Let it. I will confirm whether. So the username can say something like Eric. And then no, I'll use another user. So I'll say James. It should say James, and then the Gmail will be maybe something like james@gmail.com. So James, then the email is james@gmail, james@gmail.com. And then the password will be something like James1. Password will be James1. James, because James is just 5 characters, I'll say my app isn't responding. I think that's not our problem. James 1. let me just open it again then. So our user is James, and what we'll do, we'll create an account with a James account. You can see that there is no James account opening our users. There is no an account named as James. It's just Jane and Eric. What we need to do is create a James account, and we'll now try to log in. So we say the username is James, and then the email is something like james@gmail.com, and the password is james1, and the password is james1. James is 5 characters. So we need to sign up, and if it's perfectly signed up, as you can see, user signed up successfully, it will now go to our login activity. And if I refresh my users, you can see that James is right over here, and the password was James1. So now if James wants to log into our app, he will just provide his email. He'll say something like james@gmail.com, and the password was James1. And if I click on login, it will actually tell me whether the login is successful or not. So it's processing, and amazing, yeah, it's telling me login successful down here. It's telling me login successful down here. So if I click on login, it's telling me login successful. Yeah, so that is how you can actually after, and if I provide a wrong password, it should be login unsuccessful. If I just alter the password, it will have an unsuccessful login. As you can see, its login failed. I'll call you in a few. And yeah, so you can see the login has been failed. And if you can remember some of these guys passwords, I think something like eric@gmail.com. I don't know what my password was, so let me just try. I think my password was 126, or was it eric@gmail.com? So you can say the password is 12345 6. It either has to be 126 or 120. So if I try to login failed. 67890. Let's see whether, yeah, awesome. As you can see, the login is successful. So it's going to Firebase and checking whether the user is successful. And yeah, to lastly maybe signing the user to a different page, it's just the last thing to do, and it's to add maybe a new activity that will take our user to now the new activity after they log in. So the empty views activity, and Firebase logged in. So the activity will be called Firebase logged in activity, and that is the last activity that when the user clicks on login and it's successful, it will now take the user to that Facebook Firebase logged in activity. And that is how now you can create an app where a user can can be able to sign up and be able to log in and go to the signed up activity if they have logged in successfully. And to do that is now go to the login activity. Just go to the login activity, and after the login has been successful, so here you can say long, and after the login has been successful, we can go to the Firebase login activity, and it's just the same thing. Intent, go to Firebase activity, and then you say is equals to new intent, and then login activity dot this, and then Firebase login. What's the name of that class? Firebase logged in. Firebase logged in class, and it doesn't find the intent, so you can just say import class, and after that you can just say start activity, then go to Firebase activity. Just that, and when the user logs in perfectly, it will go to Firebase activity. And to just show that, I can go to the activity Firebase and add a very simple text view and say welcome to Firebase activity. You have been logged in using Firebase, and I can constrain it and say you have been logged in, and say you have been logged in successfully using Firebase. And right click, go to XML, and the text will be you have been logged in successfully in Firebase. Just that, and the text scale will be something big, so text size, is it text size? Yeah, text size will be 40 SP. So let's see how it you have been logged in successfully in Firebase. You have successfully logged in Firebase. You have successfully logged in Firebase. Logged in Firebase. Awesome. So after the user has created an account, they will get to that screen and be able to sign in using the account. You have successfully logged in Firebase. Awesome. And lastly, it's just to run our app and see whether it will actually log us in perfectly. And let me just clear it on our phone, and I'll actually send you this app so that you can be able to create an account, and you can be able to follow along and see all that we did. So this tutorial lecture is the continuation of the first one that we did, of which it was to create all this user interface and also to do the logic, maybe to go from the login activity to the main activity. Yeah, simple as that, and you'll be able to follow all this code, and I think I can upload it on GitHub. So if I wanted to share it on GitHub, I can go to the tools and connect this up to GitHub too, or share it on GitHub. And as our application is running, what we'll do is to actually now create a brand new account and be able to sign in on it with different passwords and different emails. So the username, I'll say something like Angela, and the email will be angela@gmail.com, and the password will be Angela. I think those are 6 characters. Yeah, Angela. And when I click on sign up, uh, it will create my account here in Firebase. If I refresh, there's no one like Angela. But now if I click on sign up, Angela and Firebase signed up perfectly, and the user has signed up successfully, and it will automatically take me to login. So here the login, I can be able to provide now my email, Angela, and if I angela@gmail.com, and my password is Angela. And after clicking on login, it should log me in successfully and tell me that I have been successfully logged in to Firebase. And you have successfully logged in Firebase. And that is how you can do the workflow of your app and sign in and sign up and log in users. Yeah, so that's about it for the lecture. And let's say now, if you maybe wanted to just log in without signing up, you can straightforward go to the login page. You can straightforward go to the login page. So you just do what? You just click on my amazing app, and instead of signing up, someone like Angela, since she's in our Firebase, if I refresh, you'll get to see that Angela has been added. So what I can do is go to the login page and do what? And log in. Just so I've clicked on go to login page, and as you can see here, I can now input my details and say angela@gmail.com. And after doing that, Angela, I think I've misspelled that password, but let's see whether I have done it perfectly. So it will try to log you in, and the login is successful. I have typed it well, and you have successfully logged in Firebase. And if I try to create a user with that email, something like if I try to sign up with the email, Angela's email, and say Angela, so angela@gmail.com. If I try to sign up using that email, even if I try to use a different password, 123456, 123456, if I try to sign up, it will be unsuccessful. It should be authentication failed. As you can see here, it's authentication failed because Angela's email has already been taken. So it's handling all those things for you, such that a user can't create another email that has a user. And what I need to do now is to change the email. I can say Angela2. And if I click on sign up, now, it should be successful. Firebase signed up perfectly. And if I refresh down here, you'll see that there's Angela too. Yeah, and it has taken me to the login activity, and I can now sign in using Angela2 at gmail.com. And the password for Angela2 was 123456, and I can be able to log in. And now for all these operations, we say that your app needs to be online because you're communicating with Firebase, and Firebase is an online cloud service. You have successfully logged in Firebase. So yeah, that is it, and that was it for this lecture. What I can do is I can shut down my device, and let me just stop it, and now share with you this application. So let me just stop my virtual device so that it doesn't use so much of my RAM. Now build this Firebase app. So build APK. So I just go to build and say build APK, and it will just build my app, and I can share it with you so that you can maybe test out. So if you wanted to now write the same app or test out everything, you can start with the first lecture that we did on designing our app. And now if you want to add Firebase, I have detailed everything that is to do with adding Firebase to your Android Studio, signing it with your Google account, and connecting your Firebase project to your Android Studio app. Now, if you wanted to add things like databases, you can just click on something like the real-time database, or if you wanted to use it storage, something as storage, you just click on storage and say get started. And if you wanted to store your images, your videos, and how you can display them on your app, now you would use the other different services such as storage, and the app has been created, and let me locate it and share it with you guys, and I'll just rename it and call it Firebase login. Firebase login.apk. I'll share that application with you. It will be forwarded to your group class, and yeah, that is it for creating users and logging in your users to your application. That is just one of the services that we have used. As you can see, Firebase has so many different applications, and to use them there is so many tutorials to do that, and also detailed documentation on their documentation website. Yeah, so that is what you can do. This recording will be made available for everyone, and that's about it for this session today. And I think I will end the lecture there. It's actually ended on time at 5. And yeah, that's it for our lesson today. Maybe if there are any questions, but everything will be available for you. Awesome.